Welcome back to the Snow Family Racing Garage. This is a tough one to make because disaster has struck. I know, things happen when you're building hot rods. Sometimes things happen and parts break. I believe what I had go bad was the old Pertronix module in the distributor. There was a loose connection somewhere. We had a lot of current go to ground. And I think, pretty sure, fried the mag pickup, the Pertronix module, all those things that make the Pertronix, actually work. And keep in mind, this car originally came with points. This had the first generation Pertronix points eliminator kit, which basically changes everything to a mag pickup. It has a little reluctor wheel that sat underneath the weight setup inside the distributor cap, and a little mag pickup that as things spun across, it was sending the signal to the coil to fire. Now, since this was the very first iteration of the Pertronix points replacement kit, and sorry, those flies are mean today, what happened was there was a loose connection. I took it for a test drive after the last video, thought everything was great. When I ended the video, took it for a test drive, and just about had an electrical fire in the distributor. So, yeah. What that means is we're going to be replacing everything. The distributor was showing signs of wear, and here is what I have. I have the new Pertronix distributor. This is the complete setup with the flamethrower coil, flamethrower everything. This is going to go with that wicked Pertronix coil that we put on last time, and this is going to correct a couple of things. We fried the module. Had to get a new one anyways. This gives us the opportunity to correct a couple of sins that are going on in the distributor. The weights are worn, making for inconsistent advance. So let's get the old distributor out, and I'll show you things as they come out. So here's the inside of the distributor. I've already taken it apart to make sure I'm getting the right parts and all that stuff. This little guy here is the magnetic reluctor wheel that spins around, and that's the mag pickup. This is the points replacement setup. Everything's supposed to bolt to the bottom of the distributor, and there was all sorts of little jibbies and welding spatter looking stuff. To me, says that there was an electrical problem. And what I found was that back here, there was a electrical connection that was loose, and looking at it, there's a little bit of arcing, on it. So the other things that are making it so that way we're going to replace the distributor is the weights are actually getting worn. I'll show you better when it's off the car. But what we're having is the advance is actually sticking out at idle and giving us fits with, and sometimes it'll idle down correctly. Other times it's a couple hundred RPM up. Either way, we're going to pull the distributor out. We're going to fix it. So right down there somewhere, there is a 9/16 bolt that holds the hole down onto the distributor. We're going to pull that, pull it straight out. Because I screwed up, took the distributor cap off and didn't mark where it was at, and this one is omnidirectional. I'm just going to do the effort and get this thing timed in the way I know how, by finding top dead center on cylinder number 1, which on a Nailhead is over there under the compressor. That's cylinder number 1. So let's start getting this thing pulled apart, and I'll show you stuff as we go. Don't you love getting new parts that are already broke? Got here and the cap is already broke to pieces, so that means we got to reuse the old cap until we get a new one, but that's okay. We've got all the right terminal ends in it. It's just that one was so darn pretty, but whatever. So here's the old distributor. Apparently that loose wire was just, if I can hold it, was just a ground that went externally. No idea how, what, why, if it's even supposed to be there. I don't know. I'm assuming it's supposed to be there. Now here's the one that matters. This is the new one. It's got that little braided ground strap. I'm pretty sure that's grounded to the body underneath there. So I imagine that half the problem we had was because that wasn't grounded correctly. And this is the new Pertronix Flame Thrower with the Igniter 2 module. There is an Igniter 3 that has a rev limiter, but We don't really need that here. So this is the Igniter 2. You can see it has a very different mag pickup arrangement, which I think is going to be a lot more appropriate for what's going on, much more like an HEI or even an MSD. I have an MSD around here somewhere that I can show you a picture of their mag pickup. But there's the springs. The weights are right there. Now, if I can balance this one-handed, they spin out and they advance your timing as your RPM goes up. That's the way they're supposed to work. The old distributor's weights and all the mechanism is worn, so it tends to, come back to a not completely normal position, or retard, in this case. Retards the timing back to its base timing setting. So I think I'm going to leave the silver springs on there. I think that's going to be good for the big torque, big inch that this is. Well, not that big, 401 inches, but still, it's big enough inch. So I'm going to go do some looking back at the car, find my number one wire, and start getting things set up from there. So we'll check back in a few. So I had some help from my lovely assistant, my wife. We bumped the key over till we found top dead center within a couple of degrees on cylinder number 1. Remember, on a Nailhead, cylinder number 1 is on the passenger side. Different from a small block Chevy. We tried to time this like a small block Chevy once, and it was a mess. We learned very quickly to look at the manual and figure out where number 1 is. So let that be a lesson. Anyways, the way I did it is I pulled the spark plug out, put my finger over the hole, bumped the starter. I'm not talking like, bump, little bumps, sensible bumps. So you get enough motion out of the engine to work right. So I had my finger over it. I had a flashlight. I'm watching the mark on the damper as it's coming around. So I felt the air pushing past my finger, big indicator, and I was able to watch it come around. It's within 12 degrees of top dead center on cylinder number 1. There's not a lot of room in there to try and get it the rest of the way, but 12 degrees is close enough, because ultimately I want the timing somewhere around 12 degrees, maybe a little higher. Let's just start there. 10 to 12 is a very sensible place to start. The distributor is set up for 24 degrees of timing, so that may be a little much timing. That would put it at 36 degrees timing. 10 degrees of initial may be the place I want to be. We'll work with it. We'll get it to where it runs the best. On these classic engines that don't exactly have great flame travel in the cylinder heads, my understanding is that a little bit more timing, total timing, isn't a bad thing. On my race car, I run 36 degrees total. Some people say, oh, that's more than 32. That's too much. I got AT slips to prove that it works. Plus, it's more consistent. Anyways, let's get the distributor timed in. Now, what I'm going to have to do is now rotate the oil pump drive just a little bit to make it settle down into cylinder number 1. So, a lot of things. Let's keep moving. So the new distributor is in. It's kind of a tedious process if you've ever dropped one in before. Wasn't much to see. I did label all of the spark plug wires on the top, so that way I knew which cylinder they were going to easily. And I need to still hook up the vacuum advance, apparently. Actually, I need to cap off the rubber line so that way it's not an issue when I start this and set the initial timing. Now I'm at the point where I've got to start the car and get the base timing set. My intent is somewhere 10 to 12, like I talked about. I'm going to cap the vacuum line for the vacuum advance, grab my lovely assistant, and we're going to fire this thing up. The timing is set. Had to go get a new timing light, a new Zurich one from Harbor Freight, because it's close and it's actually a pretty decent timing light. Anyways, so the timing is now set. We're running about 33 degrees total advance with about 12, 13 degrees of initial timing. That's a very nice place to start. We can tune it from there and figure out if it needs more timing, less timing. Makes me wish I had a drag strip, because, man, I would, start bumping the timing just a hair until we find the it for timing. But, alas, Rocky Mountain Raceways is dead as of 2018. Anyways, so I'm going to take this thing for a test drive. No smoke. The smoke stayed in the wires this time. For any of you that know about electrical smoke, That's what powers all electrical systems. It needs to stay in the wires. Anyways, I got to move a car. I got to take this for a test drive. I'm waiting for that Monte Carlo in the background to cool down a little bit so I can check something. It was way hot when it got back a few minutes back. So anyways, let me grab some keys. Let's go for a drive. Down the road, it cruises real nice. 40 miles an hour is a very sweet spot for the car. It just settles right in and goes. It's driving like it's supposed to. It's not missing a beat. Everything is exactly as it should be. That was a good, successful test drive. I'll drop the part number for the distributor that we used. I'll put that in the description and all that good stuff. So that way if any of you guys are out there looking for something nailhead-wise, this is the part that you need if you're looking for a distributor. Anyways, I just pulled the air cleaner off, had to pull the ignition, the idle speed. Too many I things, ignition, idle, all the same. I had to pull the idle speed down just a hair after it was warmed up, you know, new stuff, hot parts, you know, all that good stuff. Sometimes you got to make little tweaks here and there. So that was just a minor tuning tweak. I do have a slight miss at like 3/4 throttle that I'll have to dig into, but you know, that's for another day. The point is the car idles, cruises, goes to wide open real nice. Anyways, so thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you watch the rest of the videos that are bringing the Riviera back to life. And I promise, this isn't done yet. There's going to be more coming. So thanks for watching. We'll catch you later.